Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 87 of the Mystery Reviews. Hope you're all doing well. Let me say hello to the chat. We got Vanja. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Now, the hints for this week were given were Arthurian, Reynard, and Off With Your Head. Also, with the hint of the theme being green or Irish. Well, there's not an Irish that goes with Arthurian, so there is green, however, that goes with Arthurian legends, and that is the legend of the Green Knight. So, yes, I took a look at the 2021 movie, The Green Knight. Also, big shout out to OMB Reviews, Odin, for recommending this film a while back, but I wanted to make sure that when I saw it and reviewed it, I wanted to do it on a good basis where I can really delve into it. And it took me a while to watch this movie. I had to watch it twice. And I gotta say, the first time watching this movie confused the heck out of me. There's one scene that I would cut out because honestly, it makes no real sense. Other than for a wow moment. That's it. Hey, Neozoic, good to see you. So, yes, The Green Knight. In 2021, Dave Lowery directed The Green Knight, an epic fantasy adventure based on the timeless Arthurian legend. The Green Knight tells the story of Sir Gawain, played by Dev Patel, King Arthur's reckless and headstrong nephew, who embarks on a daring quest to confront the eponymous Green Knight, a gigantic emerald-skinned stranger and tester of men. Gawain contends with ghosts, giants, thieves, schemers, in what becomes a deeper journey to define his character and prove his worth in the eyes of his family and kingdom by facing the ultimate challenger. From visionary filmmaker David Lowery comes a fresh, bold spin on a classic tale from the Knights of the Round Table. Now, yes, this is the first time I have watched this movie for this review, so I've seen it twice for this movie. And good afternoon, Elena. Thank you for stopping in. And I'm doing well, just keeping the pain to a minimum with lemon juice and painkillers when the pain flares up. For those of you who don't know, I've posted it all over my social media. I do have a kidney stone, and it may require surgery to remove. But enough of that. Let's get into the movie, shall we? So there's an opening poem, and I really do like this poem. The voice that whispers it, that speaks it, almost sounds like Reynard later on. Reynard is a fox character, a deceptional trickster character. And it says, "Look, see a world that holds more wonders than any since the earth was born. And of all who reigned, or none had renowned like the boy who pulled sword from stone. But this is not that king, nor is this his song." And the voice becomes more raspy and malicious in this, or while it's reading out that line, which was a nice touch. "Let me tell you instead a new tale. I'll lay it down as I've heard it told, in letters sent, in history pressed, of an adventure brave and bold, forever set in heart and stone, like all great myths of old." So yeah, it really does do a good job during that whole scene of the reading of the poem. It shows Gawain on the throne, but obscured by light, so you can't really see his face definitively. And then his head just catches fire. I mean, it's like, holy crap, they're really setting the tone for this movie, aren't they? Now, Gawain, again, is played by Dev Patel. Alicia Vikander, or however you choose to pronounce her name, plays two roles in this movie. One of a whore, and she is a wench, a whore. That's what they call them, folks, so don't get too bent out of shape for it. and one of a lady in the Trials of Gawain. This movie also stars Sean Harris as King Arthur and Kate Dickie as Queen Guinevere from Prometheus. They played the wily rock lover and the other doc girl who was very much Scottish and very much looks Scottish. Erin Kellyman as Winifred from the movie, or from the Solo movie, as well as from Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. She played the terrorist that was sympathized with. Joel Edgerton of Star Wars and Warrior fame, and Ralph Ineson as the titular Green Knight. Now, the movie begins with great set dressing of a medieval theme. It's very fitting for the film. They did a really good job at putting in an old feel of the Knights of the Round and whatnot. And it's really at the twilight of Arthur's reign, because Arthur is aged and he is very soft-spoken now. And he is older than he's in his latter years. Now, the music can sometimes be mistaken for sound. That is another thing that I really didn't really like much about this movie, was that the music was very confusing at times. There wasn't a real score to go with this movie. It was an old-fashioned kind of sticks, bramble, strings and smacking things to kind of have a score. I mean, it's almost like they raided the sound department to do the score for this film. I mean, that's kind of off-putting in a way, because it's very non-traditional. However, it's understandable, so I will not fault it too much. However, objectively, it can take a person out if the score is not well done. In this objective standard, where no bias, the score took me out of the film a little bit because it was off-putting. It was confusing. It didn't really give me much. It didn't help immerse me into the film, if that makes sense. So, we get an introduction to Gawain, a privileged young man who whores and drinks. He's basically betting, or just got done essentially laying with Essel, played by Alicia Vikander. And she wakes him up with a bucket of water saying, "Christ is born. This is Easter." Or no, this is Christmas. So basically this is Christmas, or Yuletide as they call it back then. Do you opinions on Dev Patel cast as Sir Gawain? Did you think it was a race swap? I know Dev Patel is Indian British, or not really. I'm just curious. I hope I don't give the wrong impression. No, dude. You don't have to worry. Ask whatever you wish. I'm very open and very blunt with my opinions. Do I believe it was a race swap? No. I believe that there is it's said that King Uther, the father of Arthur, cheated a lot. He was kind of a man whore himself, and he took a lady away from another lord, and that's how he sired King Arthur. However, that woman already had a daughter by the name of Morgan Le Fay, who happens in this film to kind of be Gawain's mother. I'm guessing it's Morgan Le Fay, played by Sarita Choudhury, because she's a channeler in this film, a channeler of magic. Now, back in those days, people would come off from far lands. Exotic females would often be bedded by nobility. And potentially, it's not outside of the stretch of imagination that the sister of Arthur would give birth to a child that was of exotic fashion. So yeah, it doesn't really make, or the race swap doesn't really touch on anything woke. I don't really find much wokeness in this film, to be completely honest. To be fully honest, there's no wokeness in this film that I could see or that I've seen. Ruben Thomas, good to see you. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Niazoke. Now, this film is an adaptation to the chivalric romance by Anonymous, attending church and then seeing his mother, played by Sarita Choudhury, as I said. He attends church, but they don't really show him going to church. They show him heading to church. He then sees his mother, who doesn't feel like celebrating too much merriment or being merry. So he then goes to the hall of the table of the round, or the table of the king, the round table. And he's drinking with the knights. And I got a loose area on my lip, so sorry if I'm stuttering. One moment, please. There, that should be done. Now, I do like how Arthur calls Gawain and says, "Where's your mother? She doesn't feel like celebrating today." And he's like, "Well, then take your seat beside me." And Gawain is humble. He is humble to a point where he doesn't believe he is worthy to sit beside him. He's like, "You are family. You are my blood. You can, or your place is beside me." And so he asks him, "Tell me a tale of your deeds." And Gawain is very open. He's like, "I have no tales to tell." The scene, Sean Harris as King Arthur does a wonderful job being soft and soft-spoken, really showing that this man is aged and sickly. Not to the point where he's decrepit, but where he is up there in age, and where he basically is in a gown or in his leisure dress while even doing daily things, because his body is so weary from his many years of service and as king as well. Now, the merriment kicks off, and and you also see a cut of Sarita going up to a tower where she writes a note and then burns it. And this in turn summons the Green Knight, which was a lovely moment in this film. Fun fact, not so much, or not so fun fact, since the movie I bring up suck. Dev Patel played Prince Zuko from the live action Avatar in the last. Oh, it's the same damn character, or the same damn actor. Huh. I would not have guessed that. Just shows that he aged pretty well, that he didn't, or that he's barely even recognized. Because I have seen the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. Would never have. I would never have guessed it was him. And that's funny. But check it out. So yes, and the Green Knight. This freaking makeup, folks. This freaking makeup for the Green Knight makes him look like a wooden character. And I gotta say, this is some pretty damn good makeup. great sound effects for when the knight moved, because he is of the earth. He is wooden. When he moves, when he turns his neck, when he lifts his hand, because he comes in bearing an olive branch, essentially a giant olive branch, to show that he has no ill will or harm toward, or means no harm to anyone until he delivers his message. And I love how he rides in on his horse, hands it to Arthur, backs out of the light so that Guinevere reads the note, but it's read in the Green Knight's voice. It's magic that is passing through her. And the message reads, "O greatest of kings, indulge me in this friendly Christmas game. Let whichever of your knights is boldest of blood and wildest of heart step forth. Take up arms and try with honor to land a blow against me. Whomsoever nicks me shall lay claim to this my arm." And so, or as that reads, the Green Knight holds up his emerald axe. "Should he land a blow, or its glory and riches shall be thine, but thy champ must bind himself to this. Should he land a blow, then 1 year and Yuletide hence, he must seek me out yonder to the Green Chapel, 6 nights to the north. He shall find me there and bend the knee and let me strike him in return, be it a scratch on the cheek or a cut on the throat. I will return what was given to me. And then in trust and friendship we shall part. Who is willing to engage with me?" So I indeed understood this, because when they read out cryptic riddles, I tend to pay very close attention to these kind of details. He will repay what, or return what was given to him, meaning whatever you do, whether a nick on the shoulder or a cut on the throat, he will give back to the person who did it to him. If this person would have just sliced him on the shoulder, he would return that slice on the shoulder. If he strikes a fatal blow, well, that person will indeed be struck down as well. It is literally a blow for blow, yet 1 year hence. So Arthur is willing to answer this challenge, but his body is unable to answer it. Gawain steps forward and he says, "I have no sword." You also do see Merlin in this movie twice, when the Green Knight comes in holding up the branch. Arthur turns to Merlin, and Merlin, you see red light come over Merlin as if he is reading the room, so to speak, and he then shakes his head, basically saying there is no danger of this, or of this stranger, essentially. So Arthur allows Gawain, who has no knight, or who is no knight and who has no sword, to take up Excalibur. And as the knight tips his axe upward like a noble person. Let me see if I can sheath, folks. So don't freak out. This is sheathed. It's not a threat. Basically, a person would raise their sword like this, or their axe like this, and tilt it down and take their stance. So that is basically how the Green Knight, he brings up his axe like this and then holds it outward like this, present it like this, and places it on the ground before Gawain. He then kneels and turns his head like this. Gawain is afraid at first. He's hesitant. He's like, "I will strike you. Stand up and face me." Well, no such digs. Green Knight doesn't do anything, so Gawain lops his head off. Yeah. And I'm like, this is a trick, you dumb fuck. Now, Neozoic, how would I compare or rank Green Knight with other King Arthur legend films such as The Sword and the Stone animated? I never seen any Monty Python fans or films. And Knights of the Round Table 53, never saw that. However, I did see the Merlin film, and I thought that was pretty good. The two-part film with Sam Neill. I thought that was a very good film for what it was, and low budget and whatnot. However, the Sword and the Stone movie, the animated cartoon film, great classic. Absolutely love it. I really do. It is old style artwork, man, and it works very well. So getting back to this, he cuts his head off, and it's like, oh shit. So then the Green Knight gets up, headless. Blood just gouted out of his head too, by the way. And he goes and picks up his head, lifts it in front of Gawain, and the head opens its eyes and says, 1 year hence. Then, laughing maniacally, gets up on his horse and rides off headless, holding his head out to the side like this as he's riding off. It's really a very unsettling, scene. It's like, oh shit, dude. Now you realize that you just cut this dude's head off, thinking you would kill him, and that this is, or even Arthur warned him, this is just a game. Be smart about this. Well, dude fucking lopped off this dude's head. Did you not think that an enchantment would keep him alive so that he could return the blow? So, 1 year hence. I really do also like the voice effect of the Green Knight. It's almost kind of like two voices speaking incredibly in sync with each other and deep. And it's very well done. It's like almost of the earth. And when he turns his head, man, when this dude moves, it's sounding like twigs and trees snapping and swaying and breaking in the wind. It's very nature sounding when he simply moves like this or something like that. He's a nature knight. He is of nature, which is pretty cool. I love the design of the Green Knight. So yes, then we get these bits of words on the screen that are all done in a medieval script style, medieval fonts and whatnot. And the next one is a two quick year passes. 2 as in TOO. And Gawain's tale is told by puppets. Now, Gawain wastes the year. He's drinking and whoring and fighting. And I love how when the first snow arrives, he's freaking out because, oh my God, a year's passed already. He needs to head out on Christmas or before Christmas to meet the Green Knight. So he arrives at his home after a drunken brawl, and he sees that his uncle is there. And he kneels down, and his uncle's like, rise, rise. And he's all muddied up and dirtied up and whatnot. And he's like, where were you? I called for you. Did you not hear me? And he then orders him to finish the game with the Green Knight. And he asks him, why are you holding me to this fight? And Arthur answers simply, is it wrong to want greatness for you? This is such a great scene. It's basically saying that Arthur cares for him to the point where he is going to make him do what he needs or what needs to be done. You are to finish this game of honor, and I will not have you disgrace your name. I will not see you made a fool of in order just to live. You've lived in privilege. You have gotten away with so much. It is now time you become a man. Essentially, this is his trial of manhood. Essentially. Now, we then see the creation of the sash, the greening, or this green sash that is placed around his waist. Now, also earlier on, the green axe of the green, or the axe of the Green Knight, which is very much of nature itself, was placed in a box for safekeeping. When the box is opened, the entire inside of that box, which was nothing but cloth and wood, was now mossed over, completely covered in moss. It was freaking brilliant how they expressed that this weapon is an enchanted weapon. I'm pretty sure, or I have my own speculations on this, that I'm pretty sure that if somebody was to try to use this axe to cut down a tree, it would actually stop itself from striking the tree. I just have that feeling that this axe would only be used, or would only allow itself to be used in battle and not against nature, because of the Green Knight's origin and whatnot. So we then see his mother, or the blessings from the church and the king, and the green sash that will bring him no harm as long as he wears it about himself. No harm will come to him during his final test. And then he journeys out. Some kids are running after him, saying, "I got a sword! I got a sword!" And they're basically, it's a nice little send off. And the kids eventually turn around as he gets too far away from Camelot. And he remembers an offering and a gift from Essel, who gives him a bell. And her offering to be his queen. Not a realistic dream, of course, as she is a commoner and she is a whore. But it's what she wants. She's like, "What if I was your lady?" and whatnot. And he tells her, "I would shower you with gold." And she's already told him, "I already have your gold. But what if I want to be with you? You know, I want to be yours and your lady, your queen." And so then we see him out on the second day after a brief night where he rests. And the second day out, we see the skeleton in the cage at the crossroads. A skeleton that somehow still retains most of its shape. How would you compare Alicia Vikander's role in The Green Knight, or roles rather, with her other roles, such as Ava from Ex Machina? I've never seen Ex Machina. However, I will say that her role in Jason Bourne and in the Tomb Raider film she's got range. In this movie, she plays a seductive role and a playful wench role. And in those movies, or in Jason Bourne, she plays a very ambitious CIA agent who wants to work her way up the ladder and does so through cunning manipulations. And in Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie, she actually plays Lara Croft actually quite well. So I thought that was pretty good. But yes, Alicia Vikander is actually very good with her roles. I thought she did very well. Now, we then see him, or Reynard the Fox, guiding him in the woods as he comes across the fox. And the fox guides him throughout the woods. And then we see the thieves who rob Gawain. And they take his horse, his sash, the axe, everything. And I'm like, oh my God, man, this dude, holy crap. And they run off after the head, or the leader of the three thieves takes the axe, gets on his horse, and just rides off, with leaving the other two behind, and they end up disappearing. Now, the cinematography is great in this film, or especially the sweeping forest shots. And then we come across Gawain, which looks like his bones, as if he is rotted there. And then it continues on, and then we see that he is indeed alive and has to cut his hands free with his sword that was left behind. and he ends up cutting his hand while he's cutting himself loose. So now he's bleeding and whatnot. And he starts running all night, getting lost in mist. And this scene is just great, as it really does show the panic within him. And I really feel that is good acting. When it shows a person trying to keep themselves together, but also panicking at the same time, this really does show that Gawain has never been tested. He's panicking. He couldn't even handle 3 common thieves. It's like, what the hell, man? You are seriously this petty. You are seriously this unskilled. You swung a sword and beheaded an unarmed opponent. That does not make you worthy. So we then see him come across an old cottage in the woods, and we see the medieval text, the meeting with Winifred. And it's a cottage in the woods. He's resting, he's sleeping, and Erin Kellerman comes in. She's like, "Why are you sleeping in my bed?" And he freaks out. He goes to leave because he understood he imposed when he didn't know anybody was there. But she's like, "I need your help." And she takes him down to the creek. "And I need you to find something for me." "What do you need me to find?" "My head." "Your head is on your shoulders, my lady." "No, it isn't. I know it looks that way, but it isn't." "How did you come to lose your head?" "Well, a lord came seeking shelter like you did and wanted to bed me. I refused. So he cut off my head." And so she even asked him, "Were you the one that came and took my head?" And he's like, "No." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure." So then he jumps down into the creek to go after her head. And it gets very confusing in there because you can clearly see it's a tank. This creek shouldn't be that deep. I mean, there's some good parts in this, some bad parts. Freaking lights underneath the water. It's confused. It has some confusing cinematography as well. But he does find the skull, bringing it up. It has some red hair, so he knows it is of this spirit he is seeing. And so he brings it back into her room and sees the head speaking up at him, and he drops the head, and then he sees it's a skull again, or the head talks some more, and then it's a skull again, and he places the skull where the laying body is, where the head should be. And it's a nice little moment. This is a nice trial that he is brave enough to do a kindness for somebody without expecting something in return, because he asks, "What will you give me in return for this?" And she's like, "Why would you ask that? Why would you ask me that?" And so he understood this is not something that you need to seek a reward for. So, moving on, it's a nice scene, but it's also still, the underwater bit was kind of odd. But anyway, at the end of the scene, it's indeed great because you also see that the axe is returned in the house. The axe is once against his. It was taken by these thieves. Now, this thief told him, or when he asked him about the Green Chapel, he's like, "You're in it." Essentially, a lot of this is happening in his head, or so he thinks. It is never really explained. This movie is psychological in so many ways. So then we get to an interlude. While continuing on, the fox continues to follow him and joins him. He falls down a hill at night, or that night, and eats mushrooms that make him sick. So you see him barfing up that stuff. He then sees the Green Knight in emerald lightning around, and he sees an outline of the Green Knight. But then as day breaks, he sees that it's just a tree. I mean, this movie does so many mind fucks with you that you don't know what's real, you know? The wide shots are also really good. I mean, they really did great establishing wide shots for this film, sweeping wide shots. And Gawain's travels are very nicely done. We then get the giants, which this is the scene that confused me the most because there's very little of it, or there's very little out of it. You see this hand grabbing a mountainside, and then you see a bald head sweeping by. These giants are all female, and they're all naked. And he asks if one of them would give him a ride on their shoulder. And it's like, really? So this thing turns down, and the fox is still with him. And the fox kind of howls, and it howls back. All the other female giants, there's one nursing a baby giant against her breast. And they all just make their own noises, hooting and whatnot. And then they all turn and continue walking. That's it. What the fuck was the scene even for? I'd cut the scene if I could. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, okay, hi giant. Woo! Walks away. What the fuck? Honestly, it made no sense. Fun fact, Joel Edgerton, who plays as the Lord in The Green Knight, also played Sir Gawain in King Arthur 2004 film, according to his filmography. Nice! That is indeed pretty interesting. And we will be getting to Joel Edgerton's character in this film. So yes, the Walk North. To be honest, I never understood the giant scene. Like I said, well, yeah, I'm reading my talking points here, folks. And I watched this movie 2 times. I still don't understand the giant scene. So it feels like this scene could have been deleted. Cut in a way that you never even knew it happened. So, yeah. Then we see how, as he's walking where the giants were walking, after he gets down the mountain area, the helicopter shot then turns upside down, much like, well, to be complete, or it goes literally like this. And I'm like, what the frig, man? This is like freaking trippy shit. And I absolutely have no understanding as to why they did it. But then again, this movie is a psychological movie. So yes. How would you compare Joel Edgerton's role in The Green Knight with other roles such as Owen Lars from Star Wars 2 and 3, Ramses II from Exodus, never saw Exodus, Gods and Kings, never saw it, Sam Carter from The Thing prequel, never saw that either. However, Joel Edgerton from Warrior and Star Wars episodes 2 and 3, well, the very limited role he had in 3, and sadly his performance in Kenobi, Joel Edgerton is a very good actor. Also, he was in Zero Dark 30 as one of the lead SEALs that killed Osama bin Laden. He's not the guy that killed Osama bin Laden, but he's one of the SEAL Team 6. Fierce Apathetic Black Queen, good to see you. How you doing? Always a pleasure to see you in my chat. I'm talking The Green Knight today. So yes, that scene ends and we get the exchange of winnings scene, which is the introduction to Joel Edgerton playing the Lord and Alicia Vikander playing the lady. Now, so the exchange of winnings, Joel Edgerton plays the Lord, and I must say he does a great job at it, playing this enigmatic character. Alicia Vikander, similar to Essel, or to her character Essel, the wench whore lady, but she plays it with grace and nobility. She's a seductress, and she's a very free-spirited woman. And I gotta say, what happened between her and Gawain, I did not expect them to show what they showed in this film. Let's just say that. I did not expect them to actually show what they showed in this film. Now, it is very clear after what happens, what she did. She gives him a book and whatnot, and he comes up with the bargain or that the exchange of winnings, the Lord's wager is exchanging winnings of the house with what the Lord brings home from his hunts. And also there's this blind lady, that old blind lady that sits with him, and it's like, who the fuck is this blind lady? This movie is confusing in many ways, folks. The queer portrait that is upside down that uses light to sear into the painting of what is reflected, which is interesting in its own way. This movie does a lot of things to confuse the audience. I don't understand a lot of the things. It's like, what is the point of this? What is the point of this? I'm not seeing a lot of things in here that make sense. Even from an objective standpoint, this movie confuses you. You have to know the story of the Green Knight of the books to understand what the hell is going on in here, you know? And unfortunately, I never read the Green Knight. So this movie is indeed very confusing. And it's like, what the heck? So, yeah, the blind lady also visits Gawain in his room, touches his cheek, and then leaves. So then we see the seduction scene from the lady, and that she has the green sash around her waist, offers it to him, saying that it will protect him from all harm. And she tells him, go ahead, take it. And she's also jacking him off. You don't see what's happening, but you see that she slipped her hand down there. You see how he's reacting. It's very clear that she's freaking stroking him up and whatnot. Now, she basically urges him to take the sash, and as he's taking it, he's also climaxing to the point where she takes it or rubs his own climax on his hand and then says, "You are no knight." He failed this particular test. Essentially, he took something that will protect him from harm no matter what happens. How would you compare Dev Patel's role as Sir Gawain with other roles such as Prince Zuko from The Last Airbender or Dion Wilson from Chappie? Never saw him in Chappie. I can only go by what I saw him in, which was Zuko in Last Airbender. I thought he did pretty good as the Fire Prince. He actually, because I have seen the cartoon as well, I thought he did Zuko pretty well. Wanting to prove himself constantly and also at odds with what he has seen. Ugh. So, yeah. I think that Dev Patel's acting in this movie is very top-notch. Now, we see that as he's leaving because he is fucking freaked out by what just happened. He grabs his clothes, grabs the axe, checks it out, and checks out completely, runs and leaves. He's like, I don't want your kindness, I don't want your gifts, I don't want this and that. And Joel Edgerton stops him and he's like, are you sure you do not owe me anything? And so he goes up and you see that he kisses him. A parting kiss from the Lord, basically. And then he's like, well, then I caught this for you and I was going to give it to you, but let's see how nature takes its toll on it. And it's the fox. It's the Lord releases Reynard, the fox that was caught by him. And it's the same fox that had been guiding, Gawain through the woods. So then we get to the next chapter, which is said a beheading at the Green Chapel. And Gawain sees a small boat that he is to row up the river to the Green Chapel. And the fox stops him and is barking and gnashing and snarling and then starts speaking. And it is like, this is creepy. It's kind of like this voice. Like a like you got to really close off your throat like this. It really talks like that. And it's begging him, go home, or you're not ready for this. He, or the Green Knight, and I are of similar beings. And if you knew what was coming, or if you knew what was ahead of you, you would gladly bear your head in shame and return home. And Gawain needs to finish this task. He knows he needs to finish this task. And so he swings the axe at the fox and says, I never asked for your companionship. I never asked for you to guide me here. So he passes the test of cowardice, where he will not, or he passes the test of bravery to still meet with the knight. Now we then get to the set of the Green Chapel, and this set is freaking amazing, man. They built this set in the freaking woods, it seems, because it looks purely organic, as if the wild reclaimed a small abandoned church, a small abandoned chapel in the woods, as if nature just grew up through it and around it and encompassed it completely. And we see that the Green Knight is sleeping because he is a day early, because he got freaked out by the lady jacking him off. And he returns the axe. He lays it down upon the stairs or from where the Green Knight is. And we see it cut to night, where the poses are all the same. And I like how they do that, because it shows that Gawain is waiting patiently with this knight. And we see that the Green Knight opens his eyes, looks down at him without moving. His eyes just open, and he does nothing else, and then they close again. The next day, Christmas, he awakens and rises. And he's like, you came. Are you ready to finish to finish this game? And he asks him, picking up the axe, do you remember where you cut me? Well, then let us finish this. And Gawain gets down on his knees, and the knight goes to strike, and you see him flinch. And he's like, sir, you flinch. And he's like, I'm sorry. It's just, is this it? Is this all there is to it? Indeed. Prepare yourself. And so he's like, did you not have a year to find courage? And he said, 1 year or 100, it wouldn't have made any difference. So he goes to strike him again, and he stops again, asking him, is this all there is to it? Yes. And so then he goes to strike him again, and that's when Gawain is just done. He's done. He's out. He's like, nope, I'm sorry. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm out. I'm fucking out. And runs out of there. He takes the coward's way out. He fails the test. He finds his horse, the one that he was riding to this chapel on, and he returns home. Now, this is where I honestly thought, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But I noticed something while I was watching this scene. And this was actually very well done and very well directed by David Lowery. This entire scene goes without a single spoken word from any main character in the scenes. You hear background chatter, but that's it. And it's very interesting. He returns home. And his mother bathes him as he keeps the camera always shows that he still is wearing the green sash. And he then has sex with Essel. Arthur and Guinevere are elderly and on their deathbed, and Arthur gets up and knights Gawain and then hands him Excalibur, basically proclaiming Gawain the new king of Camelot. We then see later that Essel gives birth to his son, but instead of being his queen, she's paid and abandoned as the son is raised or is taken by the king's men, and she's crawling after, or in her weakened state, she's crawling after. She basically feels cheated because, well, he was going to take her as his queen, as his lady. But then we see an arranged marriage between him and some noble woman of another land. And there, again, no words spoken. This entire scene, no words are spoken. And it's well done. And then it shows how he is, or it doesn't show any scene between, or any passion between the arranged marriage and the, what's the word? The consummation of the marriage. Which, believe it or not, in medieval times, folks, when two royals consummate their marriage, they need to do it in front of witnesses. They need to have essentially public sex. They need to have sex with each other in front of witnesses so that it can be said that this marriage was consummated. I could never live as a royal in that time period. Nope. I am a person who prefers to not kiss and tell, you know. I'm traditional that way. Well, modern traditional, shall we say, but also old traditional. All depends on how you look at it. So, years pass and Camelot is engaged in warfare. The prince is grown and slain. You still hear no words. He grabs his dying son's crown. It's just a circular band. He grabs it and returns home, and somebody throws shit at him, and it hits him in the shoulder, and then he runs up the stairs. You hear that the guards chase after this guy and kill him. And then he looks on into the crowd and sees an elderly Essel, the mother of the prince who was just killed. And then you see the crowd around her just disappear, and her looks of daggers at King Gawain, who was essentially a tyrannical ruler at this point. He still has the sash on at all times. You notice it's still on throughout. And they did a good job at aging Alicia Vikander for this scene, as she is indeed older. She would indeed be older. And then we see that a daughter is born to the queen, and war is coming to his front door in the next scene, where his queen and his daughter flee, and then his mother flees by his side as the doors are being pounded inward, leaving him completely alone with that portrait that was made for him by the seductress Alicia Vikander. It's now sitting in back of him, and as he's waiting for death to finally come to him, he takes the coward's way out. Camelot crumbled around him, and before the enemy could get to him, he pulls the green sash that he had worn about his waist the entire time. He pulls it off. And then his head just falls right off as if it was cut off. Just falls off, rolls down the stairs. That's it. Cut back to the Green Chapel. And it's like, oh, okay. He's seeing what's going to happen if he doesn't go through with this. It was all a vision, folks. All of it. From him becoming king to his family and all that stuff. All a vision. Well freaking played, David Lowery. Well freaking played right there, man. And so he, or as the Green Knight is about to cut off his head, return the blow that was given, he tells him, wait, and he says it calmly this time. He pulls the sash off and throws it away, understanding that that sash is the ultimate final test. He needs to meet this knight knowing he's going to die, knowing that he will die if the blow is returned. And then the knight says, "Are you ready?" After he throws the sash away. And then he says, "Yes." And that's when the knight stops and kneels and says, "My brave knight, well done." Wipes away his tear and then runs a finger under Gawain's neck like this. "Now, off with your head." Roll credits. It's like, what the? So does he live? I mean, what's going on here? Kind of wondering. I had to look up what the heck is this ending all about? I had to look up ending explained for the Green Knight. This film was so freaking confusing, folks. It is very confusing for me. I mean, yes, I get it. He passed his test of nobility and whatnot, and the Green Knight praised him for it, for casting aside that which would protect him from death, so that he would gladly give his life for honor. I understand all that. But then they just stop it, and then they roll forward throughout the credits. Then you get to the final bit of the credits, and you see the little girl that was his daughter from the Vision future, picking up his crown that rolled off of his severed head. And it's like, so what happened? It just doesn't make sense. You know? Opinions on the special effects of the film. The special effects were actually pretty well done. The digital effects of the giants and the fox were not. However, the other stuff was pretty well done. I will say that. The fact that they actually showed a dude's jizz in this movie, where Alicia Vikander's seductress rubs it on his hand, smearing it on his hand, saying, "You're no knight," that I did not expect. It's like, okay, they have done something that I never thought I would see in a freaking movie that was in theaters. I never thought I would see a dude splooge on screen in a theater. I mean, I've seen it joked about in other movies like freaking Scary Movie and shit, but not in a serious sense would I ever thought I would have seen it. And it's like, wow, okay, that just happened. Scores for this film. Objectively speaking, this film is very confusing. This film, its writing, its acting is very good. Its writing is very good in some spots. However, the writing also includes some of the scenes that are confusing with the giants and stuff. This film confuses you in so many ways. And I do believe that from an objective standpoint, this movie takes you out of it, because it seems that it made the same mistake as Disney has been doing, which is you need to have additional context from other sources in order to understand this movie. That is never a good way of telling a story. If you do not have access to those sources, you're going in essentially blind. Why the fuck was Scarlet Witch evil in Doctor Strange 2? If you haven't seen WandaVision, you wouldn't know why. It is essentially the same as this movie. If you've never read the book version of The Green Knight, you do not understand a lot of what this film shows. So yes, it is a very deep lesson film that is completely confusing. Objectively speaking, the special effects, the giant scene could have been cut. I would put this film at a 6 out of 10. It fails. You got good Green Knight scenes, you got good scenes and whatnot. However, a lot of this film is deeply flawed because it requires additional context to understand what is going on. That, to me, is a failure to tell an adequate story. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Subjectively, I love this movie's depiction of this Green Knight character. I wish to know more about him. However, I still have these same bickers. I need the additional context if I am really to invest in this movie. However, subjectively, I will not penalize it too much, or as much as objective standard. So yes, objectively speaking, this movie fails. Subjectively speaking, I would put this movie about a 7 to a 7.5. Good story, good action, and whatnot. However, there are some real confusing moments in this fucked up movie. Moviegoer. I ended up pausing, wondering what the hell was going on. I was taken out of this movie several times because of a very confusing score that was more of sound effects than music. I literally had to stop, use my laptop, and look up what the hell is what is all this shit. I had to look it up, not look up the future of what was going to happen in the movie. This movie bored me in some areas. Now, folks, most of my mystery reviews are movies that I have seen and enjoy, but there are some movies that I haven't seen. This happens to be one of them, and this happens to be a movie that I didn't quite enjoy very much. However, I still thought it was a good enough movie to put in the mystery reviews. But moviegoer, this movie is a 7 out of 10. That is the lowest I have ever done for a mystery review moviegoer score. I believe it's the lowest moviegoer score I've ever put in my reviews, I believe. But yes, The Green Knight is a very confusing movie to me. I did not understand a lot of what needed context. You cannot make an adequate or tell an adequate story if you are leaving your audience asking, who the hell is this blind lady in this Lord and Lady's mansion? Why the hell is she even there? What is her purpose? Why can this fox talk? What was the whole purpose of these giants just walking by? None of it made sense to me. Am I missing something? Have I gone completely retarded? I have no clue. Maybe I did. Maybe I was just watching that movie and absolutely had no fucking idea what I was seeing. But I'm sorry, this movie was very confusing. I see that it has a lot of praise on Rotten Tomatoes. But it's like, oh, this movie is so deep and whatnot. It's like, it's such a great story. I'm like, then apparently you guys understood it better than I did. Because I didn't understand the scene with the giants. I didn't understand what the purpose of that scene was for. I didn't understand the purpose of that old lady in the mansion. I didn't understand any of it. Except for the test for finding Winifred's head. Yes, you need to do this kindness without expecting a reward. You need to meet your death with honor. His mother set this whole damn thing up with the Green Knight. She was the one that wrote the letter and burned the letter and summoned the damn thing. So that her son, I guess, would grow up. Okay, I get that. Good story there. You did it. However, some of the journey made no sense. There were visuals that made no sense. I would literally have to watch this movie with Odin from O&B Reviews, and I'd be like, explain to me how this movie is good, please. I would need somebody to explain this to me, these certain scenes and whatnot. But it's like, other than that, I'm like, yeah, this movie didn't really do it for me. So, hints for next week, folks. It's the last of the green and the Irish. Not necessarily Irish in this case, but green indeed. Harlem and Brazil. If you know it, don't spoil it. I will put more hints throughout the week. Thank you so much to Neozoic, Fierce Apathetic Black Queen, Ruben Thomas Official, Elena, and Vanja for coming in and saying hi and being in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Make sure that you smash that like button on your way out and share it for the replay for others. I thank you all for helping me through this time. And I thank you all those who are leaving me well wishes online over the kidney stone. Thank you all for supporting my channel. Thank you all for checking out my content, please feel free to check out the playlists that I have. I'm still trying to get my hours up. I would love people to focus on the hours. The watch time. I really do need the watch time. So if you can watch other mystery reviews, how I go in depth with movies, if you want to watch other people be on the channel as well, I have the versus streams. I also have the guest choice reviews. If you want to join me on my channel with a guest choice review where you get to pick the movie, you get to pick the time and the place, or the time and the date. It's all for your convenience. If you want to join me, hit me up on Twitter at VolenOHR, VOLENOHR. And we could set up a time. We could set up a movie. Make sure it's a movie you enjoy, not a movie that you want to rip to shreds, but a movie that you enjoy, because I want more positivity on my channel. I know I cover a lot of controversy and shit that is very negative, but I would also like to bring some positivity back to my channel too. Something that all of the panelists can enjoy and stuff. But yeah, if you guys want to come onto my channel, everybody's welcome. Even those I don't agree with. People with different opinions, you're welcome here too. So yeah, if you want to come onto my channel, let me know. I'll be happy to bring you on. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. You all know the drill. If you're catching this on the replay, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you think of The Green Knight? Did you like it? Did you not? What were your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section down below, folks. This has been Orange Hat Reviews.